In the days that followed Jennifer's explosive exit, Megyn Kelly's producers were in crisis mode. The PR team scrambled to spin the situation, trying to reframe the interview as misunderstood journalism, but the damage was irreversible. Viewer trust plummeted. Advertisers began pulling quietly. Megyn, always poised, tried to carry on with business as usual, but her next few guests noticeably dodged hard questions, giving rehearsed answers and side eyes to her attempts at intimacy. The elephant in the studio was impossible to ignore. Everyone feared being the next walk-off. Meanwhile, Jennifer Lopez was on the cover of every major magazine. The shot of her mid-walk mic in hand became iconic. Stylized posters of that moment flooded social media. It wasn't just entertainment anymore, it was a statement. Asterisk behind closed doors, network executives were livid. Meetings ran late into the night, asking whether Megyn's format needed to change or if it was time for a new host entirely. But Megyn, fiercely proud, resisted. "I asked the questions people are afraid to ask," she said in one leaked meeting. If she couldn't handle that, that's on her. But the public disagreed. The clip of her saying, "Do your divorces affect your credibility?" was turned into memes, TikToks, and even protest signs. One activist group printed shirts saying, "Power does not equal perfection-J.Lo was right." Soon, the story leaped beyond entertainment news and landed in political commentary. "This isn't just about celebrity culture," said one pundit. "It's about how women are still policed, no matter how successful they are." The conversation had evolved, and Megyn's face was now on the wrong side of it. Jennifer, meanwhile, declined every interview request. Oprah, Gayle King, Trevor Noah, she said no to all of them. Instead, she let her music speak, releasing a single called Glass House, clearly alluding to media hypocrisy. Its lyrics, "You ask me to shatter, then blame me for cracks," became a rallying cry. The song debuted at number 2 but rose to number 1 in 3 days. Critics called it her most vulnerable yet defiant track. In it, she didn't name Megyn directly, but sang of a voice with poison under gloss. And fans connected the dots immediately. Radio hosts played it on repeat, and DJs mashed it with clips of Megyn's interview. The cultural tide was irreversible. Jennifer's silence became her weapon, and it cut sharper than any rebuttal. 2 weeks after the walk-off, something unexpected happened. Megyn reached out privately, requesting a phone call to clear the air. Jennifer refused. Then Megyn sent a handwritten letter, a mix of apology and self-defense. "I admire your journey," it read. "My intention was never to diminish it." Still, Jennifer remained silent. A week later, Megyn appeared on her podcast with a new episode titled What I Learned. In it, she didn't name Jennifer, but said sometimes being right doesn't matter as much as being kind. She admitted to misjudging her tone. The goal was tough love journalism, but perhaps love didn't come across. Some saw this as growth. Others called it damage control. Either way, the fallout remained, and Jennifer still hadn't said a word to her. Months passed. Jennifer embarked on a sold-out tour called Unfiltered, with opening visuals that flashed, newspaper headlines and sound bites over thunderous music. The tour wasn't just a concert, it was a reclamation. Midway through each show, a video montage showed scenes of her struggles, tabloid covers, paparazzi harassment, red carpet snubs. Then came the walk-off footage, slowed down, set to a piano version of On the Floor. When she stepped on stage after, the audience always roared. It was no longer just a pop show. It was a resurrection. The New York Times called it a defiant act of cultural authorship. Young fans came in tears, holding signs that read, "She walked so we could speak." The story had gone far beyond Megyn now. It had entered legacy. But Megyn wasn't done yet. Determined to reclaim her narrative, she booked her own docu-interview special titled Behind the Curtain. In it, she attempted to deconstruct the media's portrayal of the walk-off. She interviewed crisis PR experts, media critics, even a few anonymous celebrities. The special aired on NBC, and while the ratings were high, the reception was cold. Critics called it self-serving and unapologetically defensive. Most damning was the audience's reaction. Instead of sympathy, there was mockery. Clips from the special became fuel for more memes. A trending sound on TikTok featured Megyn saying it wasn't personal cut right before Jennifer's "You don't get to twist this." Gen Z had already picked their icon, and it wasn't the host asterisk. Despite all this, one woman remained eerily quiet. Jennifer? No response, no shade, no comment. But her silence spoke volumes. And then, without warning, she announced a Netflix documentary titled Nothing to Prove. It dropped on a Friday without promotion, just a single post, a black and white image of her backstage, eyes closed, captioned, "For those who tried to break me, watch this." The film was raw. It chronicled not just the walk-off, but decades of struggle, from label rejection to cultural appropriation, from relationship scandals to creative control fights. In one moment, she says, "They always want your pain, but never your power." When the walk-off clip finally plays, the screen fades to black and reads, "Power means knowing when to leave." The documentary shattered records that week. Asterisk, with her voice now everywhere. Jennifer appeared briefly on The Tonight Show, where Jimmy Fallon respectfully asked, "Would you ever sit down with Megyn again?" Jennifer laughed. "Why revisit something I already walked away from?" The audience erupted. The line was clipped, replayed millions of times. On the same night, Megyn tweeted, "Lesson learned." It was liked only a few thousand times. Compared to Jennifer's silence, her every word felt like noise. The story, once boiling, was now settling. Jennifer was celebrated while Megyn, though still on air, was fading from relevance. Their paths had diverged. One had turned confrontation into culture. The other had been reduced to a cautionary tale. Asterisk, in the end, Jennifer's walk-off wasn't just a moment of defiance. It became a blueprint for women in boardrooms, in studios, on stages. Walking away was no longer seen as weakness. It was strategy. It was boundary. It was dignity. And though the show moved on, the legacy of that moment lived on. Every time a woman chose self-respect over spotlight, in her last show of the tour, Jennifer closed with Glass House once more. As the final note faded, she looked out at the crowd and said, "We don't break, we rise." No mic drop needed this time. The world already heard her 3 months after the dust had seemingly settled. A shocking twist reignited the entire saga. A leaked memo from inside NBC surfaced an internal discussion among executives about restructuring the morning segment and reducing Kelly's live appearances due to sustained backlash. Though the network tried to downplay it, claiming it was routine review language, anonymous insiders confirmed what many already suspected. Megyn's time in the spotlight was hanging by a thread. Ratings had continued to slide, and high-profile guests were avoiding the show entirely. The audience, once loyal, now watched with arms folded. Producers quietly floated new names, fresher, safer, more in tune with the cultural moment. All while Jennifer Lopez remained untouchable, her star brighter than ever, touring internationally, selling out arenas and landing major brand deals. Megyn, by contrast, seemed to shrink with each broadcast, her confidence fraying behind the cameras. Polish. Asterisk, then came the unthinkable. Megyn's morning show was quietly removed from its prime slot. NBC released a vague statement about programming realignment, but everyone knew the truth. The final blow wasn't a scandal or ratings. It was irrelevance. Her replacement, a rotating panel of younger, diverse hosts who brought lightness, humor, and heart, attracting the very audience Megyn had lost. Commentators called it the new wave of daytime talk. And one viral post summed it up perfectly. It's no longer about control. It's about connection. Meanwhile, Jennifer broke another record. Her documentary, Nothing to Prove, became the most streamed artist-focused doc in Netflix history. Awards buzz began swirling, and just when it felt like the book had closed, Jennifer made a surprise announcement. She was launching an initiative for women in media called The Walk-Off Project, a foundation offering mentorship, legal resources, and mental health support for women navigating public careers. Its tagline, "Own your voice. Protect your peace." Asterisk, the media couldn't get enough. Oprah publicly praised the initiative. Michelle Obama tweeted her support. Young actresses, journalists, even athletes shared their stories of walking away from toxic environments. Using Jennifer's walk-off as a metaphor, the foundation held its first gala in Los Angeles, and though J. Lo rarely gave speeches, her words that night echoed worldwide. Walking away isn't quitting. It's knowing you deserve better. That moment was broadcast across major networks, and sitting in the third row, partially obscured server, the internet exploded with theories. Was she there to apologize? To study the moment? Or just to sit? In the discomfort of her own consequence, *, no one knew, because Megyn didn't speak. She left the gal.